Hey everyone, today I have Seng Wee with me here. So I think you have already saw him in my last video where I shared my vlog on the door knocking at L.E.A.R.N. So I think we shared very briefly about him, about his L.E.A.R.N, L.E.A.R.N. But today he's so open to be able to have this chat with me. So just want to find out more. So I've known Seng Wee for quite a number of years now. He's a serial entrepreneur, did a number of businesses, invested in real estate for a number of years. So bro, just wanted to ask, how did you decide, what makes you decide to come and be a real estate agent?
Buying real estate, investing in real estate is something that I'm very, very passionate about. So when you reach a limit of that one cow per buyer, beyond that we are looking at ABSD. So that kind of joy and excitement stopped there. Right. So for myself, I do really enjoy that kind of feeling of finding good value buys for myself. So having done that for myself and my wife and park under my parents, now I could do all this sharing furthermore with my own buyers.
Right, I see. What are some of the past experience that you think helps you to be a better real estate agent today for your clients?
So what I did previously, I was in the construction line, specialist contractor. And then after that, I was also in the mortgage consultancy business as well. Wow. So with that understanding and having invested in property since 2009, that experiences that I have really built on when I do my sharing with my buyers.
Very interesting. So I think the main thing we want to get into is really what you teased us that day, which is your L.E.A.R.N strategy. If you just knew Seng Wee, you may not be so familiar, but I've known him for quite a while. We always want to hear more about him when it comes to the latest updates regarding the Primary 1 registration. So L.E.A.R.N, I've learned so much from him since I've known him. So today, he'll be able to share more with us. Can you share more with us about this L.E.A.R.N strategy?
Yeah, so before I go into my sharing proper, maybe a background of what I have done. So I have 3 kids. The oldest one is actually in primary 2. So how I actually started this research into using property as a basis for school registration. It started when my daughter was about 3. I did some planning and realized that as all school being equal, there are some schools that are more preferred. So those popular schools will tend to have higher subscription and pickup rate. So when we look back at all the balloting results of the school vacancy, I realized that it is important to be near the school that you want your kid to get into, especially within 1 kilometer.
Right. Maybe just so we have a bit more idea, bro. When was it when your eldest daughter was 3 years old? Around which year was that?
That was about 5 years old. Okay. So as
5 years ago, you mean?
Yes, 5 years ago.
About 2016, 2017.
Yeah, thereabout.
Just so that we have an idea of how the market may have been different.
It's about that. It's about that. She's a 2014 kid. So yeah, 2017. Okay. So when we started, we have no intention to really put her into good school.
Right.
So plan was to just go to alumni which will be easier. Okay, my school. Unfortunately, my primary school was no longer around. Okay. And to go to the next nearest school, it is also a popular school.
Where was that, if you don't mind sharing?
So I was living in Upper Boon Keng area, Kallang MRT. Okay. So the next nearby school we will be looking at Guanghua.
Okay.
We will be looking at Geylang Methodist Primary.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So Guanghua would be a popular school, and there is also affiliation with I think Fujian Huiguang. Yeah. So you need to get into the Fujian Huiguang to qualify you for phase 2B.
So then, because your alumni school got merged, I guess, with another school.
Yes, I think sort of.
Okay. Then what did you think about from then on?
Yeah, so convenience is definitely number one. You do not want your kid to travel half an hour or so to go to the school. It will really tire them up on a daily basis. So I thought, okay, move near to a school. So move near to Guanghua or any school that is nearby. Okay. So after researching, then I realized that to move near to Guanghua, I can only qualify for phase 2C. And phase 2C, it is always oversubscribed for Guanghua. Okay. So I study into the top 23 popular school. So I have this very big, you saw before that
Yeah.
big map that I do my
Okay.
overlay. So
Okay.
my background is I'm also a military officer. I was an ex-regular. So we put things to good use. So I do my overlays, the primary school, the demographics, the distance to the school, all my circle and circles.
Right. The
Yes.
TELP.
Yes,
TELP
do my
overlay.
TELP overlays. Yeah, so with that, when I study into the popular schools, then I realized that there are some schools, when you study the demographic around their school within the 1 to 2 kilometer, it tends to be a more mature group of population there. So with that study, you will see school-going kids tend to be lesser as compared to a younger estate. So you have higher competition.
Okay. So younger estates, maybe like your Punggol, Sengkang areas?
Yes. So you
Okay.
probably see young parents with school-going kids to plan them to go to their schools.
Right. So you mentioned that for Guanghua, you only can get in at 2C. So I understand that there was a tweak in the P1 phases recently.
So we
Previously,
start
right?
from
Okay.
phase 1. So phase 1 is generally for siblings.
Yeah. Okay.
Phase 2 will be for staff of the school. And then 2B will be, phase 2A will be staff plus alumni.
Right.
And in the past, there is this, you have to join the alumni club to be
Right.
phase 2A1. Now they merge 2A1 and 2A2 as 2A. Then there will be phase 2B, where it is for grassroots leaders,
Right. Grassroots,
affiliation,
yes. Correct.
which are your Fujian Huiguan or your Huiguan, or parent volunteers.
So at that point, you did your shortlisting. Yep. Then what happened after that?
Yeah,
How
so
did you put your strategy into use?
the thought of getting to qualify first, I had no intention to actually be so kiasu to literally move my whole home near the school. But because I have to pick a school, so I decided to pick Henry Park after looking at the demographics.
I see. Maybe before we get there, I'm also curious to ask, what was the point where you felt that it's important to do this amount of research into finding the right school?
I think that is a
that's key.
very, very valid
Yeah.
question, because when my kids was much younger, I was in my heart laughing at parents who are so kiasu like what I have done.
Yeah.
But in a way, when I look at it, if I could give them a little head start to facilitate their learning journey and provide them a better environment within my little means, I think why not?
Okay.
Why not?
Okay.
Yeah.
I think this will be relevant for all young parents like myself also who just have a daughter. So something that I've been thinking and discussing with my wife as well.
Yeah. More so, I have 3 kids.
True.
Yeah.
Once you get the first one in, it's easier for the
Then
others.
the
because of
subsequent
phase
one will be phase 1.
Right, okay.
And the best part about this whole big maneuvering plan is their kids will be alumni. That will qualify them
Okay.
to A.
Okay.
So somewhere in the generation line, the grandpa did something,
Okay.
they will have a better chance
I
for a
see.
head start.
So in fact, when you decide on a school, it has a generational effect,
Yes.
right? Wow. True. That's a nice way to think about it. So you're passing on the ability to go to this school to your future generations as well. Yeah. So anyway, back to selection process. So how did you find this particular property that we are at, based on your methodology?
Yeah, so for myself, the first cut is I want to move near to the school. Then when I realized that this particular school, Henry Park Primary, that my kids got into, has very high subscription for phase 2B.
Right.
So I told myself, if I were to spend millions to buy a property near the school and leave it to luck, that is not a wise
Okay.
option.
Okay.
So I went to the school and volunteer my service to help out with the school as parent volunteer. In this school, they have very, how should I put it? They are very particular about parent volunteer, and they are trying to let parent volunteer who serve the school a higher chance in phase 2B. Not
Okay.
all parent volunteer will qualify for phase 2B, because we are also looking at grassroots leaders and others as well in
Okay.
phase 2B. So for this school, I think they are taking about 7 to 10 parent volunteer only when there are 20 seats.
Okay.
So that the parent volunteer do stand a higher chance.
Okay. So parent volunteer was your focus.
Yes. So when I went to the school for interview, so at first we will need to submit in our credential and then the application for parent volunteer. First round selection, got in. So there's a physical face-to-face interview with the vice principal.
Which came first, deciding on the property first or doing the parent volunteer first?
Deciding on the property first.
Okay, right, yeah. So, I mean, because here we have parents that are watching, maybe they're looking for the property to select. So, how did you come to this property? I think that's the curious thing that we all want to.
I think for a very simple way of looking at it is work out your budget first. Okay, study how your affordability, understand how much you want to spend for your next home, and make sure when you look at that, right, it is within the 1 kilometer.
Okay.
So for myself, in this area, within my budget, very limited homes that we can look at. So that there are probably about three development here that fits my budget,
Right.
and of which this one is actually the nearest.
Right. So I think L would be for location.
So
Probably the first one that you when
so,
you decide on the school, 1 km, that's the location.
Yes. So
Right.
for location, what I need to look at is distance.
Okay.
The distance, please look at the 1 map distance.
Right.
No other
other place.
to look into, because MOE only uses that 1 map distance as a calculation basis.
I think there are a lot of sources that people use. Another quite popular one that I know is L.E.A.R.N. You heard of that before?
No.
Okay. Yeah, L.E.A.R.N. But as Seng Wee says, just use 1 map. That's the most reliable. It's a government source.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for L.E.A.R.N, we have location,
Okay.
where we study demographics,
Right.
distance, and then what are the development within this whole area. Then we also have E, entry and exit strategy. We need to understand what's our entry price, whether it fits us, whether we can afford comfortably for the next home, and what is our exit strategy. Are we going to stay here for long, or are we going to be like this development where a lot of parents come in, stay for about 3-4 years, after their kids get into the school, move on.
Right. I think you shared with me this before about this development that you're staying at. That even though I would consider it a boutique development, not those with 500-600 units, but yet it still gets a healthy number of transactions every year.
Yes. So that one will go to my last part of the learn, but we will go to that shortly.
Right.
And then next will be amenities.
Amenities, okay.
So whether there's convenient, whether you have transport hubs, accessibility to your eateries, or even if you have an international school nearby, it will really facilitate your exit plan in future.
Okay. Usually what kind of demand would come from having an international school nearby?
So if you plan to use this as a touch base to enter a school and have another property that you want to stay, this could eventually be a rental investment unit. So with international school around, that will really be ease of renting it out.
Makes sense. You rent out to the international school parents.
Or subsequent parents who want to get their kids into that school.
Got it. So that's your exit strategy.
Yes.
Got it.
And then next will be R, registration. So do understand the registration phases of the P1 registration. By understanding them in depth, it will help you to choose where you can position yourself.
Okay, so meaning to say you need to understand which phase you are really going for.
Yes.
Right.
So as a basis, everybody will qualify for 2C.
Okay.
There's a 2C supplementary, which is a case where you can't get into 2C, and you get to choose the balanced seats that's available. Yeah. But for us, if 2C is my basis, then I try to get a 2B. And I've also seen parents, I was sharing with you the last round, after doing parent volunteer, they went to do grassroots leaders as well.
Does it add together?
No, you don't add up. It doesn't add up as a case where you get 2 chances in 2B.
I see.
But it deprives somebody of another chance.
Oh.
Yeah, that's a very, very deep planning.
You don't. So just to understand, just to be very clear. So you can be a parent volunteer and you can be grassroots.
Yes.
You don't get 2 chances, but you deprive somebody else of another chance.
Yes. So
wow. Okay.
So when you have this kind of thinking, that is very, very deep, I would think. It actually increase your chance by reducing the number of parents in phase 2B.
Right. So for some of us who have no no apparent affiliation with schools. Let's say, for example, we are not alumni, neither are we old boys. Is 2B the most realistic phase that we should be looking at?
Yes. So, because 2B is something that you can put in effort to volunteer or service, and hopefully the school pick you.
Right.
Yeah, hopefully the school pick you, and yes, you can contribute, and you get 2 chances basically in your phase 2B, and then if all fail, you still got the phase 2C.
Okay, and 2C supplementary, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But if you can't get in 2C, you can't get in the supplementary because there will be no seats left.
Makes sense. Yeah, so just wondering, how much parent volunteering did you actually have to do?
So when the school picked me, they wanted a traffic warden for them because this
okay.
place we know how heavy the traffic
It's a jam.
are in the morning. So I actually did 40 minutes a day, and the qualification for a letter to qualify you in phase 2B, I think it's about 30 or 40 hours, but eventually I did about 70 plus hours over about 100 days.
Wow. Okay, so it's a one-off thing, meaning to say you just have to do that once and you get the letter.
Yes.
Is that how it works?
So you will need to do it somewhere in when your kid is about 5 years old, usually, so that when the kid is at 6 for registration, somewhere in June, the letter is ready for you. So that take planning. That's when my timeline will be 3 years old to plan, 4 years old to execute the plan, 5 years old to start your parent volunteer or whatever it takes, and 6 will be your registration.
I see. Then during your time, was phase 2B oversubscribed, or you were within?
I was within, so there was no balloting.
Okay, so you did not have to ballot.
So those within 1 kilometer, no balloting.
Okay.
Singaporean citizen within 1 kilometer, no balloting.
Right.
Within 1 to 2, no balloting. More than 2 Singapore citizen, no balloting. Auto cut off. They are not in the.
I see. So definitely the first priority is always for those within 1 km at every single phase.
Correct. So there are 6 things you need to look at with regards to the distance. Right. Number 1 is SC within 1 kilometer. SC Singapore citizen, SC within 1 to 2 kilometer, SC outside 2 kilometers.
Okay.
And then PR within 1 kilometer.
Okay.
So sadly,
SC's first order.
Yes, it is always given priority to our citizen.
Got it. That I guess is the right move of the government to protect our citizens and help our Singapore kids get their space in schools. Yeah, sorry bro, you were at I think we were at R?
Yes, R, and then the next one will be N. So when we look at N, we look at the number of transactions within the development. So just now, like you mentioned, so this is a small development. Right. Usually, small development, you don't have transaction number. So we also understand transaction actually help to push up the price of your property. So this development being within the school vicinity has interestingly large number of transactions on an annual basis.
Okay. So I think you really had everything thought out, your exit plan, everything well structured.
Yes.
So how many years have you been staying here?
This is my 3rd year, 4th year.
Okay.
Yes.
So maybe time to have your exit plan soon.
Yeah, we are looking at the exit plan. But because having 3 kids, so my exit, despite looking at moving out of this place, will still be within this vicinity.
True, that's true, because it's always an added convenience to be able to walk to school, right?
Yes.
I mean, people can help you pick your kids up, your helper can help you pick your kids up. So very convenient.
If it's 1 kid, not too difficult. Try 3.
3. A bit more complicated. So anyway, thanks bro. I think you did share clearly what is your L.E.A.R.N strategy, and you have also been applying it to help your existing clients. Yes. Especially now since the rule changes. How do you think that has affected the registration for primary 1 spaces?
This year, especially interesting. I think phase 2B we have like 30% oversubscription even within the 1 to 2 kilometer, and many schools cut off at 1 kilometer. So if you are within the 1 to 2 kilometer, you don't even have a chance to ballot.
Okay, so they ballot within the 1 kilometer.
They ballot within the 1, or they cut off nicely at the 1 kilometer.
Okay, so you do see definitely there's increased competition for 2B.
2B and also 2C. So it has become a lot more important to stay near the school. I think as a policy, it is also convenient for the kid to go to school easier.
That's nearby,
that's near your home rather than to travel half an hour or so. So when I was doing parent volunteer, I've seen kids who travel from Sengkang school bus. Once he reached to school, he will rest at the side bench until the alarm sound for his class to start. So it's actually quite disruptive for the kid.
Right. So it's actually encouraging to families that want to place their kids near to the school because it's convenient for everybody.
Yes.
Right. But it has definitely increased prices of homes that are near to schools.
Yes.
I notice.
Yes.
I notice.
If you study hard, you will realize that people are getting savvy. We know what increase your chances of getting your kids into the school. So buyers nowadays also look at schools near, a property near the schools.
Right. However, I also understand that the tweak also increased the amount of spaces in 2C.
Yes.
It's about 40 spaces. So I think that somehow also helps to alleviate the crunch in 2C. Maybe it might be easier in 2C. Do you feel that way?
Easier, but we also know that there's no requirement to do volunteer or so on. Just as long as you are around the school, or even if you're not around the school, you still can pick the school, right?
Even if you're not around the school, you can go and do volunteer there.
No,
there, right?
2C there's no volunteer.
Yeah.
So, parents who don't do their research might choose a school, popular school that's like 5 kilometers away. Thinking that the increased number of seats will give them higher chance.
Right. Yeah. Right. But that may not be true because it still prioritizes the 1 km in phase 2C.
Correct.
Got it.
And interestingly, if you study some of the HDB blocks, maybe in this estate there are about 3 blocks. One of the block will transact a lot higher than the rest. Why? Because when the one map circle is drawn, this block's address is within 1 kilometer, the rest are 1 to 2.
Understand. I think we see that at some condominiums as well.
Yes.
Maybe I just want to ask you one advice. What is a piece of advice you can give to parents who want to go to certain schools, certain top schools, but prices of homes within 1 km of those schools are just out of their budget? Is there any advice that you can give these parents that can increase their chances as much as possible?
Increase their chances. So previously there was some sharing about using caregiver address. But caregiver address, even if it's within 1 kilometer, MOE will not recognize that as within 1 kilometer. They will straight away put them within the 1 to 2 kilometer.
Oh, you mean caregiver address cannot be in 1 kilometer?
Yes. So even if you are within the 1 kilometer, thinking that I put my kid with my parents who is staying just 1 kilometer within the school, right? So MOE will not recognize that as 1 kilometer. They will put you in the next tier.
Wow, that is new.
Yes. So if you are one of those who are thinking of doing that way, then just go and read up on the policy that is set up in the registration guideline.
What about room rentals?
That's totally possible. That's totally possible. I was going to that. So that is totally possible. That's why just now I was sharing one of the exit strategies. You could technically rent out your place because the demand for homes within the school, even for rental basis, will also be high.
Right.
And the duration will be 30 months. Right.
So I guess if you can't afford a property, you just rent, right?
You could.
Yeah, I think that's a good way. Thanks for the sharing, Seng Wee. Anyway, I just want to touch a bit about L.E.A.R.N since we were doing a door knocking activity on that the other day. So I think one feedback that I've heard about L.E.A.R.N is that it's not close to any it's not close to schools, good schools in the sense. I don't want to shoot down any schools, but I mean when you compare it to AMO residents who sold 98% on the first day, AMO residents is close to 2 good schools, CHIJ Senix as well as Ai Tong School. Okay. In contrast, when you compare L.E.A.R.N doesn't seem to have that kind of appeal. But at the same time, I also understand that you are quite active in recommending L.E.A.R.N. So perhaps what's your thoughts on this? Do you think it's a stumbling block for L.E.A.R.N?
So before I share with you my thought, I think let's qualify this. These 2 schools that we just mentioned, they are more popular school. They are popular school. It is different. It is difficult to qualify a school as a good school because the kids don't go through exam in primary 1, 2 and 3. And then PSLE, the whole grading system has changed. and there's no competition in a way to compare school and school. So we just take them as more popular schools.
Okay.
Yes. So popular schools could be a case where there's high population. That's why it is more popular. Yeah. So my thought on this would be, L.E.A.R.N Modern is a very, very interesting development. When I was doing my study, I realized most of the integrated development will have to be one property that you hold for mid-term.
Okay.
You do not get much capital appreciation in the short term.
Right,
We are looking at maybe 3-5 years. The appreciation does not come in within the first 3 to 5 years. However, I do acknowledge that the rental is very good because it's really, really convenient.
Okay.
So when I look at that, then I realize what I try to understand the rationale behind why the appreciation does not come in the earlier stage. Then I realize most integrated development are launched probably the last the last plot.
That's true.
Yeah, they are usually the last plot. So you do have the other residential plots that was launched earlier, and then by the time the integrated plot or the mixed-use development plot is being tendered, the price initially through the different tender would push the last plot of land up. That actually reduces the
Upside potential.
Yes.
For the last plot.
Correct. And L.E.A.R.N Modern, we know this place is a first mover advantage, and why I am so active with this plot, this development, is that it is the first plot of this integrated mixed-use development. The first one that's right beside or right on top of the trains at MRT station. So being the first plot, we know subsequent plot will actually take reference from the first plot, and price move according to that.
Got it. I think those that have followed me will also know that I am also actively sharing about L.E.A.R.N Modern. So I think I just want to add on to Seng Wee's point that if we look at places like Buangkok, where we have Sengkang residence, which is also one of the last plot of lands, that's the integrated development. We also have Redhill, where Atra is also, I believe, one of the last few plots. That's a mixed development. And we also have upcoming soon at Tanah Merah, Seneca residence, also is the last plot out of all the developments there. So I think, as Seng Wee has said, L.E.A.R.N Modern being the very first, and the first being the integrated development, is one of the key selling points that make it stand out in future.
Yes.
Is there any other things that you want to share about the project that really attracts you?
So when I went to the show flat, I saw this place where the developer put seize your day in 1 minute. That is something that I really like about this project.
True, agree.
So the one key thing, if you were to ask me, other than the integrated mixed-use development, the next thing that I really like it is that convenience, because within this development, you could pick up your eatery, your food, your meals, your grocery, probably your stationery, all within this whole development. Your kids don't have to travel.
Yeah, there's a childcare downstairs at level 2.
Yep, and don't have to walk on the road to get anywhere. Basically, you can go down to buy whatever you need, come back home, or go down, take the train to wherever you want to go. It is that convenient.
Right, got it. It's going to launch this weekend, opens for preview on Friday. So I mean, if you've not yet made your appointment, you can get in touch with any of us to book your appointment at L.E.A.R.N Modern. Thank you so much, Seng Wee, for your time today.
Yep.
Cheers, bro. Yeah.